Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the Education Committee meeting to order. There is a set of minutes for May 8th.
Second.
Okay, is there any questions or comments concerning the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll go ahead and call the Budget Committee meeting to order as well, since this is a joint meeting, and we also have a set of minutes for May 20th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any comments or questions concerning the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Director?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
public comment.
Public comments? Ain't no public here.
No public, no comment.
Gotta make sure we state it.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. It's all yours.
All right, thank you. You do have a budget book here in front of you. I'm going to provide a brief summary of the budget we're bringing for the 25-26 school year. And then Ms. Bax will come forward and go into a little more detail. Of course, we will answer any questions. As you know, some of the things that's going on for next school year, we will be opening a new school, Legardo Elementary. So that does have an impact on our budget. But as a summary, what you're going to see in this budget is all certified and classified staff will receive an increase in pay. Teachers will receive at least a 3.5% increase. That does not include their step. We do have a few that are still off step to the good, so they'll only get a 3.5%. But everybody else will get a 3.5% plus their step. For some, that will be 4, could be 4.2, 4.5, might even be some getting a 5% total. Classified staff will receive a 2% raise in addition to their step as well. Beginning teachers will start at $48,419. That's with a bachelor's degree and 0 years of experience, and this time next year we'll have to have them to $50,000. The beginning pay for our hourly employees will increase to starting pay of $14.33 per hour. Something we've been working on a long time, and so I'm proud of that. Some of the changes you're going to see, how do we get to this balanced budget? In regular instruction, we have a net of 7 general education positions for growth. 2 positions were abolished at BTA Virtual, and we eliminated 12 positions by increasing our staffing ratio to high school level from 25 students to 1 teacher to 26 to 1, and that eliminated 12 positions. Doing that's what's allowing us to bring this as it is and opening Legardo without any new money. Special education will include 4 special education teachers and 9 new EA positions for growth. Vocational instruction, the general fund will be picking up 50% of the aviation teaching position and 25% of the cosmetology position and 3 CTE positions at the K-8 middle schools. The Innovative School Model Grant is funding the remaining amount, and that grant set that graduated percentage of what we had to cover. For 26-27 school year, all of that funding will have to come out of general fund. Student support, 3 new guidance counselors, 1 each at Legardo Elementary. Carroll Oakland Southside, that adding 1 to our K-8s, felt a need, and with their growth, to add 1 there. Our ACT testing is now paid by the state, but that is deducted from our TISA funding. Used to, that was a separate. So just wanted you to highlight that. Also, instructional support includes tutoring that was previously paid by the state. That now has to come from a general fund budget. So that's a lot of money, but we have to pick that up. Vocation support includes 50% of the CTE coordinators. Again, Innovative School Models paid 75% last year. This next year, they'll pay 50%. New position for an EPP coordinator is being paid 100% with Innovative School Models. What EPP coordinator is we're going to, now we've finally been accepted and we'll be able to train permitted vocational teachers in Wilson County. They won't have to go anywhere else. We'll be able to do that here and help them get a license, be able to teach in the classroom. In the principal's line item, you got one new assistant principal, registrar, and secretary for Legardo Elementary. Another assistant principal is added for Stoner Creek Elementary. That's due to the numbers there. And a principal will be added, or half a principal, or half a year of a principal for Central Pike Elementary. We'll hire that person in January of 2026 to be ready to open that school the following year, just like we did this year with Legardo. Operation of plant increase in janitorial services and waste services due to Legardo Elementary being added. Decreases in natural gas, water, and sewer based on usage. We did re-up the janitorial services for another year extended, but we did negotiate no new, they didn't take an increase, same money. Only thing they wanted was for the additional building. There might have been a 2%. Let me back up. Do you remember that contract? But we got a really good deal with them, considering the market. We went back and forth several times, and that we could re-up them. Maintenance of plant increase for maintenance supplies and contracted services. Maintenance employees. We had some employees that were on a grade 6. Had been on grade 6 for a long time and really no way to move up. We got them moved up to grade 9, and we've also now going forward, anybody who comes into our maintenance, it's laid out what you got to do to move up a grade, and we're excited about that. Transportation, vehicle insurance, estimated 10% increase. Accounts were increased or decreased based on our current year expenditures. That's how we did a lot of work in that line item. Finally, the last one, early childhood education. The voluntary pre-K grant from the state funds has not been allocated yet. We were going through what we had last year. So could there be a change in the future? Possibly, but I'm not expecting it. Next page, you have projected fund balance to restrict for the following. We are restricting $12 million out of our fund balance. That will leave it at approximately predicted $26 million in fund balance. What we're asking to restrict that for, roofing repair at West Elementary, insurance transfer of $3 million. Did that last year, need to do it this year, and Lisa will be talking more about that when she presents. Our special education contracted services, $2 million. Textbook curriculum, $2 million. Parking lot maintenance and repairs, $500,000. Athletic maintenance repairs, $750,000. Transportation office renovation, $500,000. What we're planning on there, our transportation office is currently 2 portables that are not in very good shape at all. We're looking and doing some work on the old BTA building. We think that'd be a good place for a transportation, the main office, and we'll have to do some roofing there and some repairs inside, some paint, try to get that building up that way, get rid of the portable business over there and have a better building. Mount Juliet Elementary HVAC, $200,000. Those units are starting to go bad, and it's time that we've got to start replacing them. So these are estimated numbers. Of course, we'll have to put a lot of this out to bid, but we think we can replace them for $200,000. Wilson Central High School's track resurface, it's up. It's $100,000. Tennis court and repair and resurface, $250,000. Chromebooks, $1.1 million, coming out of fund balance for a total of $12 million. Next page is our proposed budget index. You can see our general revenue or general fund proposing $225,809,374 balanced. Next 142 is your school federal project revenues, $7,315,780. There's been a lot of talk about what will we lose. Right now, we don't know that we're going to lose anything. What we have been told is that what's being dropped is being dropped the same as it was last year, and that's what we're going with until we hear different. But you got to understand, we don't receive the amount of federal funding that some districts do. So that's what we're going with in our budget. Could that change? It could. And then we'll be back up here doing something else. But we're going with what we're being told to allocate. Cafeteria fund, of course, that's standalone fund. You see revenues 9.845 with expenditures 11,254,538. Total budget, we're in the deficit there. But the reason we're in the deficit there, we don't want to raise. Now's not a good time to be raising school prices, 1.4 million. So we'll be going into fund balance. Still leaves a strong fund balance. She'll point that out in a minute in that fund. Extended school program revenues. You can see the revenues and expenditures, $3,685,265, and then our expenditures, we're budgeting $3,745,329. That leaves us $60,064 in whole. You may have heard to get it to that number of $60,000, which we can cover in fund balance. They have a fund balance too. We are consolidating. We're not closing. We're consolidating 2 sites, Watertown Elementary and Lebanon High School, because we just don't have enough kids that offsets the cost. So we're consolidating those sites. If you remember, last year, out of their fund balance, we spent some money on the building at Southside Elementary. That's a standalone building, it's what it's for. So we've renovated it, and everybody will still have access to the TLC, but it'll be done there. And so there has been some a lot of little chatter over when you tell a teacher we're not going to be able to provide TLC in your building, but it's strictly we're headed for going broke in that TLC especially. And I will say this, for years our extended school program has, what we've done with before and after school care is what's really propped that up. Well, now there's more options, and we're losing numbers there too. So our revenues can nowhere near offset. So we've made some tough decisions, but I believe the right decision to get that where we can manage it. Of course, and I will say this to you, if either one of those sites get enough, if we get enough requests after we fill up our center at Southside, then we would look at adding if it will pay its way, but it's got to pay its own way. And then finally, you have the educational project revenues and expenditures. That is a brief summary from my standpoint. It's a good budget. Do want to point to, just for information for you to have, flip over to the fold-out sheet in the back of your book. It's a capital planned outlay 1 to 5. We've taken it all the way back to 21-22 as my first year in this office, and you can see how much money has been from the county commission in land and schools and additions, and a lot of it we've been able to do within our budget. And you can see that what has taken place. 21-22 was $58 million. That's capital money, with some of that coming out of the school budget. And then just want you to have that. See what you've done, what we've been able to do within our budget, so that I know a lot of times people say, well, what's going on? And you can see there's still a lot of red on there. There's things we need to be working toward. But I do believe this plan and using our fund balance when we can for some of these capital projects is responsible. So, that's what I have as far as my summary. Mr. John, I'll go ahead and take a question.
May I?
Yes.
On the Wilson Central track, not too many years ago, we bought a new track for Wilson Central. Is that the one that we're repairing?
Well, yeah. The life on them is 6 to 8 years. You've got to go in there and repair and recoat it. That's a blown-on surface. If you've ever been on it, yeah. And
How about the other schools?
this is on a rotational. We did Watertown last year. The year before we did Lebanon. So we're just keeping them on a rotation.
I'm just curious.
All right. Any other questions for me?
I got one question for you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your report. Really quick on the years, just to go back to the very beginning whenever we're talking about the, for beginning teachers. if teachers leave, say they were enrolled into our school system and then they left and they come back, do they get to pick up their years of service?
Yeah, we place them right back on our salary schedule. So let's say they taught for us 5 years and they left, and then they come back at year 13. We, as long as they had credible service where they taught, we would place them on wherever they fall on the pay plan.
Jeff, I got a question. On the West Elementary, is that the old roof repairs?
It is.
Old building.
And what we've got, and if you'll notice, if you want to look at, one of the first things I said when I took over is we got roofing problems. It's documented there, 21, 22. Some of these buildings, it'll be a whole roof, some of it'll be sections, and we're just trying to play catch up. We're doing part of WA right now. We'll be bringing something to the board to do a little more work there. Realize there's probably some more work needs to be done. Last year, last couple of years, we've done Lakeview, got a new roof. And so we're just, this roofing program it's an issue.
Thank you.
Question. Go ahead, Mr. Young.
I just want Lakeview, I have friends, they're grandchildren. That's been renovated, right?
Well, we've got plans for renovation.
Okay, it has not been renovated.
It has not, but we've done some preliminary work, and hopefully this year, if we get some FEMA money, we're still waiting for that to drop at 17 million. They say it's coming. Then, of course, that'll come back to you, but that would be a good use, and just, yes, it's on our list. And not just a renovation, we're wanting to add.
Yeah.
So we've got just a preliminary drawing as far as this went.
Very good school.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of our best.
The results of that school are
That's right.
amazing.
Yep.
But,
Yeah, we've got plans.
the grandparents,
I understand.
which is kind of funny, but
And they're legitimate. We need to do some work out there.
Jeff, you got a
I'll
site,
let them know.
North Central,
I do not have a site.
there's a CBX farm down there for sale.
Let me know about it. I'd like to look at it.
Are you looking?
No, I don't. I've not looked at it.
Commissioner Gentry's question actually overlapped with mine because I was going to ask about the 15 million on the 2025, 26 needs request for Lakeview Elementary.
Yeah.
'Cause it's in blue and that's everywhere else is labeled complete.
Yeah, we put potential FEMA. You get to make that decision, county commission.
That actually answered another question I was going to ask about the 17 million that FEMA. So we haven't heard anything definite about that yet.
We have heard that we have it. We're waiting for it to drop.
Signatures, we're just waiting on the money.
Everything's signed and sealed, just not delivered.
We've not cashed the check yet. And you're going to get that, Aaron. I'm sure Aaron will let me know when that drops.
All right, my other question was, how many people were actually affected by consolidating the two kids' club locations?
I'd have to go back and look. Probably 8, 9.
8.
Yeah. And we looked at.
Talking like we displaced a whole
No.
lot of people.
No, one site, I'll just give you an example. One site had, because the state tells you on the different ages what your ratio is. Total at one site, we had 8 kids and we had 3 teachers and a part-time assistant.
Were
2 or 3,
those 8 kids.
2 or 3. Yep. And a lot of them, I've emailed every one of them that's contacted me. There's nothing to hide. It just can't pay its way. And
It's not like we took it away from them completely. It's not as convenient because
it's not as convenient. That's right.
it's still an option.
It is an option. Like your teachers at Lebanon High School would be bringing their kids south. That's pretty, I don't think, I didn't hear anything from anybody over there. Of course, from Watertown, it is a little different, but of those impacted by Watertown, they all drive into Watertown, except one.
So one family,
One family would have to get up early and to come here.
to be little of that one family.
No, I mean, and I wish we could keep it on that end of the county. But I just can't justify the cost of 3 teachers in a lunchtime. They have to hire somebody part-time to cover for the lunch.
So the chatter and outrage that we heard was not from people that were using the service.
Yes, it was from those that feel like they're going to have to figure out a way to either drop off at South Side or some other childcare. And I do understand, as a mother, if your child's in your building, you're much more comfortable. I recognize that 110%. But, originally when that started, there was 2 sites, the one at Southside and the one at the old annex, if I remember correctly. And then as we went into schools, it is a benefit, it's a perk, it's a hiring perk. I get that. But we were quickly looking at this time next year saying we don't offer it to anybody if we didn't make some necessary adjustments.
So if we had more people using it,
Absolutely. When it'll pay its way, we'll put it everywhere if it pays its way. But there is another issue too, not at Watertown, but you got to be careful taking up space too. I mean, we are a pre-K-12 system to educate kids. Now, we want to offer this benefit because it is a benefit and it's a hiring perk. But it has to stand alone. We can't take money out of general fund to prop it up. And so that's why we had to make decisions we made. Anybody got any more questions for me? Miss Lisa?
I just wanted to go through that next page after the summary and the budget, just showing you where our self-insurance fund is, because that's not a budgeted fund, so it's not actually in a tab. But just to let you know, at our beginning fund balance, July 1st was $12,313,000. We have transferred $3 million in from Fund 141, our general fund. We're projecting a $5 million loss at the end of the year with that $3 million. So our projected fund balance on June 30th is $10,313,209. So just to let you know that we are having to move money in from our general fund for our insurance fund.
Let me interrupt there too. I will be proposing probably in July, where right now our employees receive 100%. I will be proposing, we'll have 2 options. They can keep the plan we got with a charge, or they can go to a high deductible plan that does not pay. It's not as good a plan, and that'll be a lesser charge. But I am at a point that we can't keep doing this right here.
Sure.
We've got to start investing back in that fund, even with employee. So there's a lot of chatter about that. Here's the numbers. And last year we put in $3 million. We're going to put in $3 million this year. And we're taking that out of our funds that could address more roads. So that's what we're looking at the insurance fund.
So I know this was a big conversation in your own meetings with BOE, and I think at the time there was discussion about losing $6 million. So it looks like you've made up some potentially, because I know that was the number that was said in one of those meetings. So
It's just projected until the
right,
numbers actually come in at end of June.
right. I totally understand.
They always
So-
have a huge claim pool.
Right.
They're right at the end of June.
So this is the new plan that you were talking about, that I think it was supposed to be, what, 125 for teachers to pay, as opposed to, is that,
Our consultants give us 2 options. One would be $100 for family per month for 10 months, it's $1,000. And if you go to the higher plan, it would be like $50.
okay. Does
So that would be $500.
that help really prop up your fund?
Well, you look at the numbers, how many we got, you're looking at possibly
About $2
2
million.
million that
Okay.
increase our revenue.
But you're still in a loss situation this year as well. So I'd like to make a proposal. And I don't know where else to make this proposal, but in this meeting.
It's not on the agenda, you can't,
Why not? Because it's about what we're discussing. It's topical to insurance. Where else am I supposed to have a conversation about this?
You can bring it up on new business for discussion, and then we can address it at the next meeting.
Okay, then I'll wait and bring it up at new business then. So
Not
because,
sure what you're bringing up, but that's would be the normal way we do it.
okay, well, again, I wasn't sure as we're going through this. But I have a proposal for insurance for them and for us. So,
well,
Tab 2, that's going to start our general fund. Just a quick going through it. Basically, our revenues, how they're figured. Our property taxes, we take from figures that Mr. Maynard gives us based on his calculations. And basically, the rest, we're going through what we've actually received for the year and comparing that to make our projections there for next year. I will note that sales tax, if you see our budget for this year's 32.6, and we're raising that to 35.2 this coming year. That's a large jump, but as of right now, we're projected to take in a little over 36 million. So we think that's a good estimate. And so far, we've not been under what we received from the prior year. So just to let you know about that and bring that to your attention. Everything else, the only other thing is like our TISA funding. That is based on the estimate that the state sends to us each month. I know last year when we brought the budget, we went on that estimate, and then the next month they came in at $3 million less than what they had given us as an estimate. So we're hoping that doesn't happen this year, but we do have to go off on what they give us. So that's our April estimate plus 1.3 million that we've included in there for outcome. This year we received 1.7 million in that, so that's where that figure is coming from. And the rest is just basically based on what we've received this year projected. Yes, ma'am?
I've got a question about TISA. I promise I'm not going to ask a million questions. It just came up all in the front. I'm sorry. So with TISA, it looked like between FY24 and FY25, it increased $5.9 million, whereas FY25 to 26 only went up 2.7. Is that because of ADM, or are we dealing with fiscal capacity issues?
It's both.
Thing.
It's ADM. It's
Yeah.
based on ADM, but it's also your base amount went up, but your weighted amounts figures in there too. And your weights are your children with disabilities, your ESL learners, all of that figures in to the weighted amounts. So they're going by the numbers. We send them each month. We do a pool and send them. And then they figure from that our TISA. And then it is based on our also fiscal capacity that they determine. So each year, basically it's supposed to be split 70% the state pays, 30% local. It ends up us about 68% that the state pays, and we're paying 32% local just because of our fiscal capacity.
Right. So did the ADM change that much?
ADM, we have gone up in numbers, and a lot of that is your weighted amount. Let me pull what those.
Being that TISA is new, the reason I'm asking these questions is this the type of trend that we should be looking at? Because I honestly figured that our growth seemed to be relatively standard, right? I mean, last year's growth, ADM is probably about the same as, are we not? That's why I'm asking these questions. Okay, so you're not. Okay, so that's the 2.7 versus the 5.9.
And we've been running 400 to 600. It's going to push to be 300.
Okay.
That accounts for some.
That's why.
Right.
Okay.
And our weight per student, the base rate is $7,295 a student.
Right, because it was
50.
50, okay, last year. So yes,
So that's coming up for this coming year.
right. But you'd think if there was more, then you'd have more money, but yes, but that makes sense.
Well, and another thing too, the ability to pay.
Right, that's what I'm, yeah,
And this county pays more than required,
right.
so that is gonna catch up. That makes sense.
It does,
If you look at it on the graph.
yes, it's gonna catch
You're
up.
already paying millions more than what the state says you have to.
Right,
So when they figure TISA, it's based upon ability to pay, that's what sets their maintenance of effort. Well, your maintenance of effort is, you've extended way beyond that.
right,
So that's where you're seeing some of that too.
right, okay.
And also out of that TISA money, They set aside the amount that has to go to teacher raises. So out of that money for this coming year, they're saying $2,639,000 have to go for teacher raises.
What was that number again?
$2,639,459.
But we'll be putting about, what, five?
It's about, almost 6 million toward our teacher
Right,
raises.
okay, so your total TISA increase, really, you only had what, 100,000 that you could actually allocate where you needed to? The rest of it was for teacher raises?
So it had to go
Okay.
to teacher raises.
Okay, I just think that this body needs to be cognizant of all of this because this is the revenue coming from the state. So if they're gonna decrease the amount of revenue that comes in, then we're gonna need to be ready to,
And I can, if anyone would like a copy of this estimate that they send, Ben shows the weights and how everything's figured, I'll be glad to get a copy for you.
that would be
when it needs
great.
it.
That way we're in a position to help you when it comes to it. That's why I'm asking these questions. So, thank you.
So any questions on revenue for Fund 141? Then I'm just going to do a quick overview of our expenditures. Our 7-1100, which is our regular instruction. Basically, that just includes our 7 new general ed positions. We decreased some items, contracted services by 30,000. But then we had to increase our fee waivers based on what actually is coming in from the schools. We had to increase our budget this year because what we had budgeted was not enough. So we've increased that from 88,000 to 115,000. 71200 is our special ed. That we've added 4 new special ed teaching positions and 9 new EA positions based on when students just, IEPs, whatever is requested, what's needed. So those positions are added and also with the opening of LaGuardo. The 71300 is our vocational ed. And out of that is our innovative school models, which is, like in in this line item alone, there's close to $800,000 in innovative school models money and that grant that's being used to fund positions here. And we will have to bring that all into GP next year because that grant, this is the last year for the grant. Attendance, there's really no new items there. Our attendance department, same with health services. And that just includes 1 new position for LaGuardo for a nurse there. And we do use PRN nurses to fill in for field trips, that kind of thing. So there's a budget there for PRN. 721-300, other student support, just includes the guidance positions at LaGuardo, Carroll Oakland, and Southside. Those new positions that were added there. Instructional support, 72-210. This is the department that we've included our tutoring that was previously paid for by T&All Core grant. That went away last year, and we had to bring that into our general fund budget. And that's a little over actually about $600,000 there that we're paying for tutoring. Special ed support, 72-220. The main thing there is our contracts with private agencies. We've got $3 million budgeted there, but we also added in restricted fund balance, additional money coming over to help fund that because that $3 million will probably not be enough based on IEPs and what's required in the services there.
And let me just say something, that is driven by law. There's not a lot of federal law, IDA, state, and when you have these students who need services, you gotta pay for it.
Yeah.
Vocational ed support, 72,230. That also includes innovative school model money grant. So those will be brought in the 26-27 year into general ed. And about 200,000 of that budget is innovative school models grant. Technology, 72,250. If you notice there, under regular instructional equipment, we have decreased that by $1 million. And that's where we've gone into restricted fund balance and restricted, I think, 1.1 million for Chromebooks, because being a one-to-one school, we'll need those Chromebooks, but we were trying to balance our budget. We cut that to 500,000 for this year. $72,310 Board of Ed, nothing really changing there. $72,320 Superintendent, just salary changes there, just for regular increases. Nothing else changing there. Office of Principal, 72,410. We're adding a new AP at LaGuardo and Stoner Creek Elementary. So that line item for assistant principals changed. And also a half-time principal for Central Pike that will start in January. $72,510 fiscal services. Not much changing there. Same with human resources. We just increased other charges by $10,000. Just wrap back enrollments that TBI has authorized that increased, and so that we just increased that line item. So, operation of plant, 72610. As you see, janitorial services, we increased that by 140,000. That's just us adding LaGuardia Elementary for the janitorial. And then disposal fees increased 25,000. Other contracted services increased 50,000. And then natural gas, we decreased 50,000, and water and sewer, we decreased 100,000 based on our current usage that we're showing. In all of our insurance policy with Tennessee Risk, we increased all of those by 10% based on the estimate they gave us. So I know last year it came in at about 24% increase. So I just got the 10% was what they had recommended for this year. 72,620. Our maintenance of plant. That's where we moved our maintenance personnel up from grade 6 to grade 9. I think that was 5 or 6 people that moved up in that. Other contracted services, we increased. Other supplies and materials increased. So it's just, the cost of maintenance and supplies are just continuing to go up. Transportation. Same number of positions. Just we increased maintenance and repair of vehicles, 25,000. Other contracted services, 35,000. Diesel fuel, actually decreased 100,000 based on the usage for this year. Gasoline, we did add a line item for contracted services with parents. The state asked us to put it in transportation for children that we have to transport. And actually, we pay the parents because it's more cost effective than trying to get a bus and a driver to take them to different facilities that they're in.
What happened to utilities?
That was in this transportation, it was a small amount, and everything else is being paid under the maintenance line item, so we just moved it all to the maintenance line item instead of that one being paid out of the transportation line item.
Any employees who have in maintenance?
I can get back to you on that. I really don't know. Do you know, Jeff?
Probably 20-something.
Okay.
Our community services in this line item, in this department, is our adult basic ed and our family resource center. So I don't know if you have seen that recently, the graduation of the students from the jail, where our people have gone and serviced those. It's a great program going on, so that's where this is housed. Some of that adult basic ed is from a grant that she received, so we're only funding a portion of that. And then our early childhood education, that's our voluntary pre-K. And we actually have 10 classrooms that has a teacher and an EA in those classrooms. We usually receive about $838,000 from the state for a voluntary pre-K grant. That has not been allocated yet. We're assuming we're going to receive it, but at this point, it hasn't shown up in E-Plan that we've received that allocation.
Is that a federal grant or a state grant?
It's a state grant. And then under 76-100, we've set aside $1 million for capital outlay. Part of that will be for portables that we will still have at Lakeville Elementary. Hopefully, we'll be able to send those at West back. That lease ends in September. So we're hoping to then move those from West, send them back. And then the last is just our principal and interest on our lease and bond debt. Any questions on 141? Lot to go through. Our federal projects, 142. We've only included in this budget what we've actually received allocations for in E-Plan. So that's our CTE Perkins Basic, our Title I, our IDEA Preschool, our Title III, and our Title II. So those are what we have received, and this was the allocations that they gave us last year. They just sent the same allocations this year with no new increases.
Do you have any ideas as to how the consolidation of the Department of Education at the federal level might affect you? That is a very large question.
We
Yeah.
really do not know.
Okay.
I can tell you this, if you look at those federal budgets, your money is in Title I and IDA, 5 or 6 million and 7 million. If you look at those other numbers, I do not think they're gonna cut IDA.
Right.
So that's why we built this budget. If they must cut some of the other, if we can.
The current budget plan right now, the big ones that would affect us would be if you look at the one called Title III. That one is part of one that they would get rid of. The other one that's not listed on here because we don't have an allocation, but last year it would be the McKinney-Vento.
The ARP homeless, I'm sorry, not ARP homeless, but
It's the homeless grant. I think it's in one of these other revenue accounts. But the homeless grant would also, I think last year we received about 270,000 for the homeless grant, so that one would disappear also according to their plan. Their current budget plan did state specifically, now I don't know if this is true, is that they did not want to touch Title I or IDEA as
Okay.
far as the funding amounts, so.
That's what I've seen as well.
Yeah.
I know that they're talking about trying to dumb everything down into 2 different funding streams, one for IDEA and then one for the rest, which I think is like 18 different funding mechanisms dumbed down into one stream, which most likely, my guess is that it's gonna be a block grant if they do it. But I don't know when or how that's gonna work, especially with the fact that, I mean, because federal budget goes into effect October 1st. So being that we've got to decide and pass our budget in June, I'm assuming that we'll just, I mean, if things change, that you would go back and take a look as to what is affected for you in the early fall. So just another thing that we should all be cognizant of, the fact that if federal funding does dry up, that we'll have to figure out how that's gonna work.
And
And then-
I tell you what I would do.
Yes.
But we start the school year, I don't plan on cutting anything.
Good.
I would come back and go into fund balance, as long as it's not IDA or Title I. That's what you pointed out, look at those numbers. I believe our fund balance is healthy enough, so we could go in
Right.
and move that and take care of the schools.
Thank you.
But we will have to watch it. I mean, this is a lot of,
Right. There's so much unknown right now as to what's going on.
yeah, they have said Title I and IDA will be fine.
Right.
Title III, we don't know. Any other questions on 142? Our 143, tab 4, it's just our central cafeteria fund. Part of that is USDA money. So we have not heard that that will be cut, but that's also federal funding. So
I was going to ask you the same thing. I haven't heard anything either about USDA.
we are showing a deficit, as you can see on that second page, $1,409,538. But in speaking with Mr. Luttrell, with our fund balance, what it is, we did not want to increase prices for students on the lunch prices or the breakfast prices.
Right.
And a lot of that fund balance was built during COVID when the federal government paid for all of the lunches and breakfast. Any questions on central cafeteria? 146 is our extended school program fund. Here again, Mr. Luttrell's spoken about that with our Kids Club and our TLC, showing a $60,064 loss. You can see our estimated fund balance July 1st, and then with the loss, what we project that fund balance to be, the 1.13. And I can say she has gone through and tried to cut every way she can cut. I mean, this is a very basic budget, not allowing for really much of anything except for snacks and salaries, insurance. So she has really tried to cut any way she can cut to make this program profitable. And then 177 is just our capital projects fund, and that basically is just funding for the building of Central Pike Elementary, what's left with the bonds in that project, just estimating that. Any questions on the funds, fund balances, anything related there?
Something I want to point out too, if you have a question on the next page over, we provided you with historical payroll data, beginning in 22, 23. Encourage you to look at that, see, you can see where increases have been made. Certified 15% plus step, classified 8% plus step, all the way across. And just thought that's good information for you to have, to get questions from employees.
And behind that is our salary schedules for the next year, for the 25-26 school year, both classified and certified. What that pay will be, in case you have questions coming from there.
If you end up with the same type of TISA allocation increases next year, are you gonna be able to make it to the $50,000 requirement for new teachers? That's, I know that's
I will
a
tell you,
projection question.
it's
I'm
gonna be
just,
harder and harder. That's obvious to continue to
Right.
bring about this budget. But there's a lot of unknowns. I mean,
right,
a lot of unknowns in public school funding right now, and we'll just have to see how they play out.
okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Does the Education Committee have any questions?
It's a good looking budget.
No, sir.
Okay, we have a, yeah,
Right, on your pay scale here, at the top is the 200, 220, 240, 260 days. What does that mean?
That's the number of days contracted that the employees work. A 200-day employee is usually our teachers. They work 200 days.
Okay, I see. 260,
The 260s are, they work year-round.
Administrative.
Administrators.
okay, I got it.
Yes.
Sorry, thank you.
Our assistant principals are 240, so they work the 240 days.
we have a,
220.
Who works what?
Who works the 220 days?
The 220,
Yeah,
very few guidance.
got some guidance. About 10 days before, 10 days after teachers.
I'll make a motion to accept this budget on the education side.
okay, I'll take that as a second. A motion's already been made.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns?
Now, we do the cafeteria one separate, right? Or do we do it all at once?
All at once. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, concerning just education at this point, is there any other business that needs to be discussed?
I have some new business.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for what?
It concerns this budget. So it has to do with insurance.
We've already approved it.
Because being,
You told me that I had to wait till new business, so I waited till new business. So,
But she wants to new business, we just can't vote on nothing.
Well, you can bring it up, we just can't vote on it.
wait. I mean, we're getting to the point that it's difficult to even do business because we're so, yeah, because, I mean, we can't move forward on anything.
You can bring it up, we can't vote on it.
Okay. Okay. Well, no, it wouldn't be insurance committee because it's school insurance. So yeah, well, it would go on both sides. So I'd like to propose that we use $5 million of our interest funds that we have collected so far this year to help prop up both the schools, insurance fund, and Wilson counties. We are underwater on both sides. I know 263 which is our insurance fund. We're already having to prop it up, and I think that we need an additional 1.5 to 2 million or so to be able to make it through this next year. I know they have said, I've heard 6 million once and then 5 million now from projected. So even if they actually go back and change their plans, they still are at a loss situation. So we have this money that we're sitting on that's from interest. This would be a one-time allocation. And it would be to be able to, again, try to prop up these funds. So my proposal is to put $1.5 million in 263 for Wilson County to back up our insurance fund on the county side and $3.5 million for schools. Again, it would be a one-time allocation, so we'd have to make sure and do this in a way that it doesn't affect our MOE, because again, this is not recurring money, but we have it because we're building schools and we're collecting interest on the bond money, at which point I think it really needs to be used to help all of our employees on both sides of the fence. So there's my proposal, and I don't know if we can vote on this or what you want to do, but that's what my thought is. So $5 million in total, $3.5 million to prop up the insurance fund one time, not to affect MOE on the school side, and $1.5 million to prop up the insurance fund on the county side.
If that was to occur, would you still have to charge employees?
I would take that back to my consultant firm, but no, I never want to charge employees if I don't have to.
Because have we ever charged?
Yes.
Yes.
We used to charge $7 a month.
I know that was for family, wasn't it? Or is that for individual?
Yeah, whatever, 37, I mean, you remember my check. So yes, we have.
Okay.
And if we'd have kept that in place, we might not be sitting here today. I mean, these insurance plans, this is a problem for everybody.
Yeah, I know.
They keep going up. So I would have to look, I can't give you a definite answer because I want my consultants to look at all the numbers.
Sure.
But Chuck, can Aaron address this? His opinion on it?
Well, look, we all know that we've got trouble with the insurance fund. You guys were kind enough to put another 1.3 million into ours, is 1.4 is part of the compensation, reoccurring. Does that completely fix our problem? It doesn't completely fix our problem, but neither does this. What this would do would be to buy some time. It does the same thing for the school system. It doesn't fix their problem. It only buys them some time. I'm not saying it's a bad use of the funds. I think if I haven't said it publicly, I've certainly intended to. How I've envisioned those funds being used from the get-go as they were accumulating, because this is something that's happened very quickly. We were not earning much interest, and now all of a sudden, this year it's 17 million. Last year I think we had about 9. When it was all said and done. So anyway, to make a long story short, I thought, it'd be a great opportunity for us to call some bonds when the call dates came around. And then as interest rates have ticked up, I thought, well, maybe rather than calling bonds that are out there at 2.25%, maybe the best thing to do is to use those funds on construction so that we borrow less at what now looks more like 5%. So I'm not saying it's a bad use of the money. We may wind up having to come ask for some. Like I say, I don't know that 1.4 is going to get us through. That's what you guys put in, and I know that the insurance committee, in particular, Colonel McFarland, we had a meeting this past week with a lady that's going to try to help us. We're exploring options. They're exploring options. I have no problem with propping up their insurance fund and/or ours if that's what's necessary. But again, it is a short-term fix.
Right.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's definitely not a long-term fix. I'm not proposing that, but I think we're at the point on both insurance funds that we need to do something. And this again is something that we've got the funds to do it with right now. And as Aaron explained.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I think this is maybe a great idea, okay? But I don't think the Education Committee should be dealing in this idea. I think the Insurance Committee is the appropriate committee.
But they don't handle schools insurance.
Now, I'm not talking about school insurance.
Well, that's what the proposal is.
But you can deal with the insurance if you want, but if you increase that, that also probably increases the maintenance of effort.
I just talked about that and said that this would be a one-time allocation, which wouldn't affect MOE because it's not a recurring revenue stream. It's, but we have the funds, and again, it would help them out.
Check with the law on that, because I don't know if that's true or not.
I know we've given one-time allocations in the past.
We have done things before that didn't affect MOE. We did a bonus for teachers back years ago that what didn't affect MOE. So we have done things that didn't affect MOE.
But anyhow, I think the education department or committee can deal with that. But I think our insurance committee should deal with shoring up our insurance fund.
That's fine. I only brought it up because I was talking about one tranche of money and splitting it in half, and the only way I had to introduce it is here. And at which point, the 3.5 million, we need to talk about here with education because our insurance committee has nothing to do with their insurance.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my only concern, I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea, but AFT's down because interest rates are up. We put AFT in Fund 151, I'm not sure appropriately, because it's a recurring debt service account being funded by a non-reoccurring revenue stream that's down. But the good news is that the interest is up when AFT's down and vice versa. So right now, I don't know that fund's as solvent as we might want to believe it is because we don't know where AFT's going to finish. It may rebound. We may be budgeted, but you budgeted quite a bit less this year anyway.
We did.
Facilities tax, and it's not even getting there very quick. That's my only comment. I don't know how healthy that fund really is going to be.
Mr. Chairman, this sounds like a solution. I don't know if it's the only solution, but it sounds like a one-time solution. Because 1.4 is not going to get us through on the county side, I don't think.
Also, if you recall, the Colonel, we have revamped the insurance plan every so often for new employees.
It's great.
Hopefully to shore up our insurance fund. And we've got probably 3 tiers now, three different ones. And every so often, we do another one for the new employees to help shore up our insurance. Now, several years ago, we added, 1 or 2 million to it. And, there's no doubt we'll probably add some to it. But normally it comes out of our general fund to do that. And that's what we've done in the past.
Well, with this, we wouldn't have to come out of the general fund. Again, this was money we weren't necessarily expecting, which is why I made the proposal. So I do have a question, since I can only make a proposal tonight. Where do we go from here? If we actually want to move forward with this, do we need to actually now call a second education meeting to then discuss it and then approve it? If we want to move forward? That's what I don't understand about,
Put it on the agenda.
I think,
there's,
if I can speak for a second.
Yes, sir,
I think that the issues for me is that I think where it comes up on the budget committee because you're talking about budget money here of interest income. And that's who controls that interest income. I always understood, and Aaron, you correct me if I'm wrong, when Ashley comes in and issues a bond for a school, he'll downsize it because of the premium that we get. But also when he looks for the projections of can we pay that bond back, he counts on this money sitting in the bank and drawing some interest. And yes, we've got a lot of interest because we're building 2 schools at one time, which we don't normally have, plus interest rates are up a little bit. So that money, in my opinion, has always been counted on, at least that's what he looks at when he makes his projections. And I can check in tomorrow, we can check in tomorrow and see, but that is not, in my mind, just free dollars out there. What Aaron was also trying to prove, I think, was saying that you can patch anything you want to, but until we come up with a plan for our insurance fund and you come up with yours, that's what you're trying to do right now, to make it self-sufficient for the long haul, then it's like giving a bonus. Everybody enjoyed the bonus last year, but it's gone next year. So you need to find a solution, and that's what I think both groups are doing. And I know, don't fuss at me for this one, and you've done well, and I applaud you, number one, for being able to take on LaGarde Elementary and not come to us for funds within your own budget, so thank you for that. But 2, you've worked hard to build a good fund balance, 41 million. I know 12 is reserved, but your fund balance is bigger than mine. So when we go to talking about moving money for insurance, I look out for the whole bunch here, and so that's a concern of mine as well. So, but I think you bringing it up tonight is something that you're welcome to do in this committee. It would need to be put on, I would think, the Budget Committee's agenda to consider about moving the 5 million if that's what you want to have done the next time. But I think that's where it would start at. And then, of course, if it got some legs there, then, I don't think Education Committee would say no, but, if you wanted to go back and have them vote on it, I guess they could. But I think the money is controlled by the Budget Committee, in my understanding. That'd just be my interpretation. Do you agree with that or not?
95%.
Don't tell them the 5%.
You talking about interest income, right?
Sir,
How much money you talking about in interest income right now?
about 17 million thus far.
And if you don't spend this 5 million in this manner, how will you use that money in the future? Pay down the bond?
That would be my suggestion, sir, would be that you either call a bond as, remember, when you issued the bond for West Wilson Middle, a lot of people wanted to do it on a 5-year capital outlay note. I don't know if y'all remember that or not, but I was begging you not to do it.
5-year call.
We put a 5-year call on it instead. So it'll be callable here soon, and you could take some of that interest income and call as big a chunk of that bond as you want. Now, that may not be the best,
I agree.
because the best, if that's at 2.5%, and I don't remember what the interest rate on it is, but if that's at 2.5% and you're fixing to go out to build another school, I don't want to pay off money at 2.5% and go borrow it at 5%.
Right.
So that's really where I see the interest income being a benefit. When I said 95%, I agree. I don't believe Ashley McAnulty. I know I haven't felt that this interest income in any way was being used for debt service payments. It's not. We didn't anticipate it. It's not backing a bond. That's my only disagreement with anything the mayor said.
Now, and I could be wrong on that, but I know that when me and him talk, we talk about estimated increases in AFT and the other revenues that fund our debt service.
Yeah.
I was thinking that was conversation, so I could be completely wrong on that. But I will go back as we talk about leaving the bond called at 2.5%, which you just brought up, as we look at at Lakeview Elementary renovations, and we talk about the FEMA money coming back. Those are plans that we have talked about to pool that money to be able to do those projects. So I know we have a plan, or we've talked through a plan to try to make those things happen. So I'm just cautious about spending interest income to put it in the insurance fund somewhere. But I'm just one vote.
But, and I don't disagree with that, Mr. Mayor, but he's gonna have, and I think he's already planning to eat his money. We're gonna have to eat some more money over the 1.4 billion, and I ain't sure it's all over this coming year too, so it's not gonna cover everything.
Yeah.
Maybe, I'd be surprised, if everybody get well.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
Director, do you feel comfortable as of right now with what you presented us with your budget?
I think it's a good budget.
Is there any other comments, questions, concerns?
Motion to adjourn on the education part.
Okay. Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Concerning the budget committee, we need a motion to accept.
Second.
Have a motion and second.
Is it accept or approve? Is it accept or approve?
Support, that's it.
Yeah.
I thought we was doing that tomorrow.
Yeah, we accept them. We accept all the budgets, and tomorrow night we'll.
To accept them.
Yeah. The motion and a second to accept. Is any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, is there any other business that needs to come up before the budget committee? Old or new? Mayor, you have anything?
Do not.
Okay.
Adjourn.
Thank y'all. Y'all be careful going home.